Geospatial AI sounds like something right out of a science fiction novel. And if I'm being honest, even after I learned about it, I still think it comes out of a science fiction novel. But what it is a set of tools from Esri that can help to do incredible analysis to improve the health of communities. To learn more about it, I caught up with Dr. Este Geraghty, Chief Medical Officer at Esri. You're not going to believe what they can do by analyzing satellite imagery. Let's get to it. Dr. Geraghty, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back with you. It's always a lot of fun to chat with you.
And now we have it on record because I said it in front of a crowd that you are one of my favorite people to talk to and favorite people in the world in this space. Like, you're just awesome.
Oh, thank you. You did say that in front of a crowd, and I was humbled and honored.
Well, I'm excited to chat with you because you were telling me of some new exciting stuff that you're doing with, what did you call it again? GIS AI or AI?
Geospatial AI.
Okay, geospatial AI.
You know what? Any of them work.
No, geospatial AI. Can you tell me more about that, please?
Yeah, so the ArcGIS platform is being infused with AI, right? It's what everybody's talking about. How are we going to use this technology to enhance the tools that we're already using? So we actually do it in a number of ways. And I kind of divide it into three different categories. We have geoAI, which for us refers to improving the science and the insights that you get from geospatial analytics. And then on the other side, we sort of can combine AI assistance and agentic AI. I can tell you a little bit about the difference, but those really improve the experience of using GIS. It makes it easier.
So you've got AI for the science and then the AI for the experience. I like
Yes.
that in broad categories. So tell me more about that first category. What are you using AI to, how are you using AI to improve the analytics?
Yeah, so I mean, in one sense, you could say that geoAI has been around for a decade, right? It's machine learning, and we've done those things for a long time. So, how can you use GIS to do forecasting of where diseases may spread, or look at time series forecasting? We use this um, framework that is called a space time cube, where you can measure not only latitude and longitude as XYs, but your Z is time. Right, so we can look at all of these different things through that mechanism, and that is a machine learning algorithm, among some others. But people are using it to do things like forecast flu for the next season, figure out where they need to intervene sooner, or another part of it is actually image analysis.
Image analysis?
Image
Tell me more
analysis.
about that.
Yeah, so with satellite or other kinds of imagery, we can analyze it. And so if you can train a model to understand rules, you can actually pull out things from imagery. So here's one example from Douglas County, Nebraska.
Okay.
They are using sat imagery to pull out all of the handicap curb ramps in their city to make sure that they are fully in compliance.
What?
Yes.
That is incredible. Using satellite imagery to see whether people are in compliance of having those ramps.
Yes.
Wow.
Pretty
so the
cool.
data, so the satellite imagery, first of all, is that detailed.
Yes.
And then the AI is powerful enough and smart enough now to distinguish those types of structures.
You could pull out all of the white cars in a parking lot. You can look at, we did it to look at the Palisades fire, and we could look at before and after the fire. Then we overlay a parcel map on the after, and we can assess through AI the percentage of damage to each home.
Wow.
So inspectors are now safer because they don't have to go out and inspect in person. You can do that in 15 minutes versus weeks or months of inspection, and get people some recovery faster.
I really love that. So tell me more about the other two areas that you're using. And please differentiate between those two types of AI for me.
Yes, okay, so AI assistants are pretty easy in this sense. It's basically, have you ever read technology documentation and it takes you a long time to get to your answer?
Yes.
Well, now it's practically automatic. You're in the middle of doing some work and you can just chat and say, hey, how do I go from a census tract to a zip code for this analysis? And it will either give you the documentation or it'll actually highlight on your screen the tool to go use.
So can you differentiate for me between the agentic side and the other type of AI that you were deploying?
Yeah, so those AI assistants really make it easier to navigate the GIS platform and to get that documentation assistance so you really know what you're doing. The agentic AI can execute the tools for you. So you can use natural language to say, I want to do A, B, or C. I can give you an example if you like, and it will then execute it on your behalf.
Please give me that example. I think our audience would appreciate that. I would
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it always helps to really put it into a context. So imagine you have a hurricane coming through the state of Florida, of
Right.
course, right? My family lives in Florida, so I'm always thinking about their safety. So you are running a health system with multiple clinics in the state, and you can pull into your, say, ArcGIS hub site. You've got weather data. You've also got all of your facility locations and your employees for those facilities and underlying population information. So you could, through the agentic AI, say, please tell me all of my facilities that are in within 20 miles of the path of the hurricane, and then all of my employees that are within 30 miles of my facilities, and all of the places that are at risk because the winds are expected to be a certain number of miles per hour, and keep limiting it till you get to those facilities that really need your support.
Wow. So you don't even have to be, I'll call it, that versed in how to use the tools. With agentic AI, I can now ask it questions, interrogate the data through natural language.
Right, it's creating your buffers and your intersections and all of those different tools you would have to run individually. It just does it for you.
Wow. Wow. So to me, that's really going to put this power of these tools into the hands of more people.
Exactly. It democratizes the ability to get insights from location intelligence to everybody.
Dr. Geraghty, the last time we spoke, we talked about indoor GIS. Can you tell me more about some of the developments in that space?
That has really taken off.
Has it really? Okay.
And so, what I would say is a lot of places, a simple wayfinding was kind of where we started, and we all know people get lost in hospitals. I'm not sure everybody knows that costs time and money. It's actually been calculated that it's about 4,500 hours of staff time to navigate people around hospitals. That's 2 FTEs. That's about $200,000 or more in labor costs alone.
And by direct, you mean just people answering the question of where do I go, or actually
Yeah,
having to
and taking them around.
Wow,
Yeah.
2 FTEs.
2 FTEs.
Okay.
So, wayfinding by itself pays for your software investment. But people also can do full facility management with GIS. They can map their utility network so that they don't, cut a utility line when they didn't know where it was.
Right.
They can do asset tracking so
Right.
that they can not have that big pile of lost and stolen assets, right? They know where everything is. Safety and security, where are all your fire doors? Do you know where your fire extinguishers are? What are the paths of egress and ingress during emergencies? But the newest thing that I'm excited about is really using this technology for sustainability and decarbonization of healthcare facilities.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit maybe of a leap in your spatial thinking, but with an indoor and just a regular GIS, you can do things like, one, understand the shade tree cover on your campus and how is that improving energy. You can monitor the energy usage across your hospital campus, and once it's monitored, right, then you can start to intervene. I have one example of a campus that just through monitoring and moving their Scope 1 direct emissions to Scope 2 renewable
Mhm.
uh, emissions, they saved 20% in their energy carbon footprint.
Wow.
So amazing things can be done there. You can start to calculate the value of adding a shade to a particular window cover because you can see the view shed based on where the sun is at any time of day. And should I plant a tree? Should I add a shade to that window? How do I adjust my temperature throughout my facility to maximize comfort while minimizing energy costs? So some pretty cool things.
Dr. Geraghty, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Last question for you. Where can people go to learn more about all the tools you just talked about?
Thanks for asking that question. It's pretty easy. They can email healthinfo@esri.com, or they follow me on LinkedIn.
Definitely follow you on LinkedIn. You've got all great stuff, all great posts out there.
Thank you.
Well, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for spending time with me today.
It's all my pleasure, Colin.
One of the many reasons why I love speaking with Dr. Geraghty is how much I learn from every one of our conversations. I was blown away by what Esri's new geospatial AI capabilities can do to help determine if buildings in a community have accessibility ramps in the right spot. I think that is just fantastic. And I would encourage you to learn more by going to the Esri website to see that silent imagery in action. I'm Colin Hung for Healthcare IT Today. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.